Okay, the stream started. Hello everyone. Today it's gonna be a little bit different. I'm gonna be discussing today the reveal of Dawn of War 4 with my dear friend, sister Henghast. Sister, introduce yourself.
Help me, I'm being kidnapped.
Don't bullshit them.
Alright, hello everyone, my name is the Henghast I'm a variety streamer mostly playing Dead by Daylight and the various Warhammer games.
So yeah, that's why we decided that it would be a great idea to discuss the Warhammer title. And I'd say let's start. It's gonna be discussion and me playing the Iron Harvest in the background. But let's start from the beginning. Uh, how? What's our relation to the Dawn of War franchise? And I'll let you talk first, sister. How did your
So, Dawn of War is actually the video game that kind of got me
Nie mogę się
into
bawić?
doing
Ale jak to?
Warhammer, like
Dziewczyny
just
nie umieją
overall, because I saw a gameplay of it and I thought, oh, it looked really cool. And Dawn of War 3 was kind of the last little push I got into before I decided to do the tabletop myself.
Chodźcie, ja będę polanami.
yeah? For me, I I got introduced to Dawn of War with the first game. Uh, I'd say it was about 2007 ish.
Was that purely just the first game?
Yeah, no, actually 2007 Dark Crusade. My uncle was playing it, and I just saw he's some kind of like greenish robo skeletons transform into a Grim Reaper, and I was like, what is that? I want to know more. And
That sounds epic.
yeah, I was like 8 years old and saw like the Necrons. So after that I started playing it like on my own time.
Okay.
Yep.
And this was still when you were 8?
Yeah, I was really bad at it, but I still found it fun. I got later around the release of, like, I'd say Chaos Rising, I got into the second game proper through a friend this time. And Dawn of War 3, for me it was a little bit of the disappointing, but I was always like,
I will admit, like, I get why people find Dawn of War 3 the most disappointing because, honestly, 3's biggest problem, like, we'll discuss it further, but I'll just say that right here. 3's biggest problem was it tried to be a MOBA, like, it tried to be LOL.
yeah, that was a problem. I always considered myself a fan of like the classic RTS of like, hey, build the factory, build 20 tanks, and then just go through with 20 tanks. And that
And put and click your way to hopefully victory or a very satisfying destruction.
Yeah, either way, I find either way it's gonna be fun. Yeah. And then Dawn of War 2, for me it was like, I didn't like it first time, but the more time passed, the more I warmed up to it, because it was very far away from what I liked in RTS. That was a little bit more of like tactics game, which is
okay,
was very unusual to me, because I consider myself like more of like, I wouldn't say RTS purist, but my taste in RTS, I build the base, I build tanks, I right click on enemy base.
sounds about right.
Yeah. Dawn of War 3 tried to play it through means other than Steam. I'm gonna say that I'm not gonna elaborate further on that one. And
10 out of 10, totally not sus.
yep. Yeah, and it for me it was even though I warmed up to the tactics game in the of Dawn of War 2, I found it like in that weird in between where I wouldn't say it was like pure tactics, but it wasn't pure RTS either. So I found it rather hard to adjust. And I wasn't so into Warhammer back then. Even though I've been playing it from 2008, I really started getting into like the lore of Warhammer, the entire like storyline, who's who, and like who's the bad guys, who is awesome bad guys. I even I
It
was
was vaguely analogous to a good guy.
vaguely, yeah, but yeah. So this is like our and Dawn of War 3 looked weird to me in that regard. It felt really unfocused as the game. And that
Like, unfortunately, that this was kind of like a bit with the kind of downfall of like with Relic and like with a bunch of other IPs like THQ. Of like they tried to do something, like props for that, but it's also like it's something that really should have just stayed on a drawing board. You know what I mean?
yeah, I'll be honest. It had some good ideas, but I think the problem lay purely in the execution. And even when it came to
Yes,
like
as well. Again, also the fact that again,
technical part too.
I'm not sure if you were around for it, but I was. At the start, Dawn of War 3 only really had the MOBA mode for multiplayer and custom. They didn't really have the like kill the enemy base kind of mode that traditional RTSs had.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I came a little bit later. I'd say it was around 2016-ish? Ish?
Yeah.
2016? Yeah. I think I
Yeah, because like this was they were released on the eve of 8th edition.
yeah. I'd say I played it for the first time around 2017, late 2017, when I got like my laptop that can actually run this piece of shit. So that was
The way I remember it as well, it's I think the last game that 100% except for like once again didn't feature any Primaris. Like this was the last game that featured 100% for Firstborn.
yeah. So this is like a refreshing drinks and pretzels kind of like stream and discussion show. So, sister, if you have something on your end for that, I have the Scarab. I'm not sure if I can discuss what kind of drinks is that on which.
I drank the Scarab already. Honestly, like because Mary gave it to me yesterday, and I gave it a try. Hilariously sitting outside of the Warhammer store that we were in.
Yep.
It was very okay. Like I like
Nothing
my
special.
alcohol with a bit of a kick, like enough to be like, enough that you feel something. But it is not bad, like as a beer and pretzels kind of drink, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Which is like yeah.
It's
So
doing its job. That's the big thing.
and as a 1,000 sun player, I'd say
And
that's
also
on
a
point for me.
Necron painter.
Yep.
And also, I play Thousand Suns too, so it's like I also have my connection off that.
Yeah. So on point for me at least right
Strangely
now.
enough, I think we feel the same amount of Scarab Occult Terminators, don't we? Because you have 10, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Aha! I have 11.
Well, I technically have like 2 unpainted, so it could be 12.
Yeah. I have one extra to act as the fifth member for if I'm doing a 10 brick. But yeah, like Scarab was alright.
Yeah.
There are
Uh,
drinks I prefer over it, but they're better. It is better than some drinks I have had. You know what I mean?
yeah. Okay. Okay, so yeah, this is like short of like how we kind of like got into the Dawn of War and me by extension Warhammer. So
Why God of War matters to us, kind of
yeah,
deal.
yeah, even to this day I still play it occasionally, yes, with mods, and mostly to make the game like a little bit bigger because I played the vanilla version so much that it's like, yeah, I need something more.
Hmm?
And we recently
Let
on
me
during the
in.
Gamescom we were shown the teaser trailer. I'd say it's a teaser trailer for the
Let
game.
me in, Neuro.
I think I let you in already. That, as you can see,
Damn it, let me in.
maybe because you have to actually
Did
be
you?
streaming.
Okay.
Could be like
No,
I
I
I let you
that it
in.
should be, but like this way it shows the status that thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, okay, then never fine, never fine.
I think I got let you in. I accepted the request, so it should be good. I don't know.
Okay, then we're good then. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, Carol.
So yeah, recently during the Gamescom we got the reveal teaser trailer
We
for
got
the
the announcement trailer.
announcement. Yeah, I guess that's gonna be the correct way to put it. Announcement trailer, and
Yeah.
yeah, I am. I it 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 looks very. It looked very much like the combination of Dawn of War 1 with some elements of Dawn of War 2. Uh, did you have that feeling?
It honestly, like, one thing that got me kind of curious was this may also just be like with the new graphics and everything. It looked quite a lot like 3.
Hmm.
Like from a visual standpoint of like its art style. It looked a lot like 3. Which I'm okay with. Like I like, but I know some people will still dislike it because one of the big complaints about 3 was that people thought that the art style looked a bit too off. Like the basic complaint I heard was that the Marines looked too thin.
Yeah. Uh, I understand what you're talking about, but I think it's also like just by the fact that, you know, they it, every Marine in the first and even second Dawn of War to an extent, they were like super squad in like not unlike the very miniatures that they're based on. And then the third, they tried to
Yeah.
give them a little bit more human-ish proportions, which I don't think was a bad
Mm-hmm.
idea. I actually think it was. I actually
It's
think,
good, especially to help to spell the joke of, oh, Marines must look really funny outside of their armor kind of thing.
yeah. And with the fourth one, yeah, it has a similar art style, but I think it's because that's actually, in my opinion, it worked. And I also, at least in the Russian speaking part of the world, a lot of people, there've been some complaints that it the Marines and the surroundings, they look too colorful, because the first and even second, maybe to a lesser extent second, but the first one, all the add-ons included, it felt very drab and dirty and down to earth, like you gave everything a very extra coat of agrax or or
No.
non-oil, yeah. While the second,
Well, you know, some people really like that for better or worse.
yeah, which, and I don't think like color in video games is necessarily bad. I feel like for the
Mm?
as long as it fit with the rest of the art style. Like second one, I
Oh,
think did it
definitely.
pretty well. When
Like
if
it's placement.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, second game, we were going through very colorful locations for most of the time, with a lot of like colors, vibrancy, and whatnot, and so the characters being pretty bright red fit with it, you know. Third one,
Yeah.
it felt like a visual mashup because the locations themselves were pretty gray, but the
Mm?
models themselves still look super colorful and bright, which that's where I was like and that's where I was like,
It
yeah, okay.
also doesn't help again their choices of the factions because of course you have the Blood Ravens with their red and bone. But for the
Yeah,
orcs, they chose to, in the campaign, to have the Bad Moons, so that's bright ass yellow. And for the Eldar, they had Bjortan, which was bright green with white. So, like, they chose some bright ass color schemes to do as well.
yeah. There also been a super bad thing that is like I'd say was exclusive to us. It is that that translation was absolutely atrocious. Like that it was still 2017. I'd say it was only 2018-ish when I started playing games exclusively in English. So for me, while it wasn't the developer's issue, it still colored my impression of the game overall. So the shitty translation was an effect from the voice acting to completely fucking up the names to translating the things that should have not been translated because it's a proper noun in this particular case. Yeah, it's more of like exclusive to me, to the Eastern Europe side of things, to non-anglophone, but still sometimes there, just because like it wasn't everybody issue doesn't mean that it wasn't an issue. uh yeah, and so I'd say since 2017 there've been basically zero anything when it came to the Dawn of War. Like there've been no news and nothing, and even the game stopped getting updates pretty soon after release. I think after a year it basically died. uh did you notice that, or was there anything that I missed in that?
Yeah, kind of. Like the big problem, like the big thing that I saw as kind of like a slow death knell was the fact that they started putting out new content, kind of like in a desperate bit to kind of like revitalize it. But the fact to do it for free and like free content for me tells me two things. One, you're either doing so well that you don't think you need to charge it. Two, you're going right out of business and you're thinking that there's no point charging for something that's about to, be a bit defunct. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's
'Cause,
I'd
like
say
we got three new heroes and we got like a bunch of like new skins. Including skins that I absolutely to this day still love. But it's still a case where it's like, I'm pretty sure if this game did much better, like financially, this probably would have costed probably like $10 or 20 or something, you know?
yeah, yeah. uh yeah, I'd say this was also a downfall for the Relic as a company. That's still living, but they're definitely going through the very rough period even to this day. The Company of Heroes 3
Yeah.
release didn't help it. And
Well,
I,
that's the other thing as well. It's like again, like wait, Company Heroes 2, I am loved.
but
Company of Heroes 3, I'm hearing is not really that great.
it's mixed. I tried it and I had a mixed reaction. Like, the core wasn't bad, but I think variety of content within it was, at least in the release, it was kind of lacking. And I returned the game.
Mm.
It felt like the campaign wasn't super well done. It lacked the cinematic kind of feel to it. It felt more of like skirmishes after skirmishes, which is not bad. I still think to this day Dark Crusade might be one of
But
the,
it's not what Company of Heroes fans wanted, because we
yeah,
wanted the big sprawling, battles that 1 and 2 gave us.
yeah, and the, yeah, again, there's nothing bad about the campaign being basically a series of skirmishes. I still love Dark Crusade. Dark Crusade,
Oh yeah.
maybe it's just because it introduced my, still to this day, the favorite faction. That I'm a Thousand Sun player, but my spiritual faction is still Necrons. This is like the faction that I will defend till the day I die.
I love Soulstorm because I think you can tell for obvious reasons.
Yeah, but I'm still surprised you haven't collected Dark Elders because of that. Yeah, but
Wow.
wow, yes, I am such a...
Actually, believe it or not, I actually own a squad of Witch Elves.
Yeah.
I own a squad of Witch Elves and 1 Incubus. Would you believe it?
Not a bad choice.
Yeah. But yeah, like that to me was the biggest strength, I say, of Dawn of War 1, especially like by Soulstorm's time. Because as much as people say like, oh, it kind of got a bit bloated because now there's like all these factions, but I'm like, to me, that's the beauty of it, because again, when you take in the source material, Warhammer has a lot of factions. If you again discounting the various different types of Marine as kind of like one faction, they are still like a very varied force.
Yeah, and I think there've been, for some of those factions, that was the first video game introduction, you know? Like, I think
Mhm.
Necrons first appeared
Like
in
for
Dark
me, like
Crusade.
I kind of really got into the game because of Dawn of War, and moderately particularly because of the memes in it.
Well, memes, we had our own memes, half of which I can't really say, because, gosh, there's
Yeah.
so much things that I can't really translate properly, because our memes were like in our language. But
The Ultramarines and Soup.
yes, it's kind of hard to explain. I think I tried to explain to you what's the deal with the soup, and it still was like,
Yeah, like I know what it is because I've also looked it up online.
but it's
But
like,
yeah, if you tell an Anglophone that, they probably won't understand it for a bit.
yeah,
To make it worse, you know how you've been sending me Gotchi songs of like the Gotchi, you sent me the Gotchi remix of the Dawn of War 1 theme for Space Marines.
yeah, and then you
I
sent,
found a Gotchi version of the Ultramarine chant.
yep, which is
And I'm like,
first
I'm
appeared
pretty
in
sure
the
they designed it to
original.
work more in Russian than anything.
Yeah, yep, that's thing. But yeah, and I think it also was like kind of like a very breaking point for the Warhammer video games, like, period, you know,
Yeah,
because
because like when you think Warhammer video games, people tend to think a few things. Many of them think of the Total War games, and like that's like biggest advertising the fantasy side of it's getting.
yeah,
For 40K, you're probably thinking of like, oh, Dark Tide or Space Marine right now.
yeah,
Unfortunately, because of the failure of Dawn of War 3, like Dawn of War has kind of fallen off as a title, except for like people who are like really into like Warhammer video games.
yeah. We, I, I think it's also like, on the bigger scale, it was also like when the Games Workshop started becoming a little bit more hands-on, getting a little bit more hands-on approach to like how their games, how their IPs getting adapted. Because before that, it felt
Because
like
that's the other thing kind of as well, because another kind of like advertising Dawn of War had, and like Warhammer in general had, was from if the Emperor had a text-to-speech series done by some of the fans.
yeah,
Like, because in that series they incorporated a lot of Dawn of War jokes. They used a lot of characters and the voice lines from it.
yeah, true. And
Would you believe it or not? So you know the Terrors of Your Nightmares, Phalanx Orders, and that stuff, and the Imperial Fist, right?
yeah,
Do you want to know why I'm an Imperial Fist player?
I
Text to
assume,
speech.
yeah, now that when you started
Because
mentioning
I
it, I
just loved
assumed.
their portrayal of Rogaldorn and that as the ultra literal, stoic funny guy. Because when I initially penned the Emerald Wardens, my Space Marine chapter, they were originally going to be Blood Angel successors.
And after that, you decided that to make
Because
them
I like the Blood Angel lore. I like, their aesthetics. I like the fact that it's an army of pretty boys.
fair. Can't say anything against that.
But in the end, it was at the start of 8th edition, and one of the store regulars, it's Gordon, that we know personally. He's the one who suggested that I run my Space Marines as Imperial Fist because they were nice and easy like army to learn. Because of course, like as we've seen, like there's a lot of meta things you can do with Space Marines that make them super complicated and everything. But as a chapter tactic, ignoring cover was, that's a pretty solid one. Because then I don't need to learn the rule.
I think right now it's ignoring cover isn't the biggest, but I assume back then it was.
It is good because again, if you play in like the full 100% rules, it is stupid easy to get cover in 40k right now. Because no, is 1 foot of your model hiding behind a building, it has cover. And if anything, it feels like, and this is what I will call everyone else out on their hypocrisy on. It feels like the honor contempt situation all over again. Where it's
Really?
like, oh, AP1 weapons mean jack fuck all, but now that it's no longer just Marines that get it, no one can blame me. Which to me just kind of speaks to, okay, so the problem was just people who didn't play Marines.
Yeah, I'd say about every
Like, oh, now
faction.
that everyone else gets it, now it's no longer a problem.
Yeah. Now everybody has at least one stratagem or rule or something along those lines that can get you.
No, like just sheer fact that cover is so easy to get that you're perpetually always in cover unless like you're flat out in the middle of an open field.
And even then,
which in the even then it's like just pay a command point, go to ground, you're in cover.
Yeah, but even then, some faction might even get cover even if they are in open field. Who knows?
Yeah, like anything with go to ground.
Yeah. And
but yeah, like so the fact that I was able to like unlearn a rule, what made getting into the game a lot easier as it came in. And even then, like their base tactics of like, oh, you get prototype sustained hits on bolters, and like you had access to a really good Terminator character in Captain Lysander.
And I assume he's still good.
He's still good, and in the latest balance update, they made him like have another kind of reason to kind of exist. So like the big thing right now is he's the only Terminator captain who can take a Thunderhammer and Storm Shield.
Ooh.
Because now that GW is enforcing the what's in the box kind of deal, that option's lost to captains.
At least until they actually make a model with that.
And even in the index, when they still had the, you still had the last vestige of customized models, he still had superior stats to them because, so Nero, he's got 5 attacks hitting on 2s, strength 10, AP 3, damage 3. How does that sound for apples?
That's good.
And also, because it's a Thunderhammer, he has dev wounds. So you do have the potential to just rocket socket a Terminator in one go.
That's actually pretty interesting. Yeah.
For other abilities, he has a once per game, like at the start of your enemy shooting phase or at the start of the enemy's fight phase, you have a 2-up invul. So like, once per game you can become stupid tough. You know what he's saying?
Yeah, but while the Dawn of War was definitely famous and for good reasons, it's a good game, just period.
Yeah.
Let's not forget.
It's a good game and it's inspiring.
Yeah.
Like it makes people want to play it.
Yeah. Let's not forget that. Unfortunately, it's true, but unfortunately, the Warhammer had also a lot of like low quality games around the time, and Dawn of War was the good game out of the bunch, because like even
Yeah, because unfortunately as well, like that's another thing a lot of people have been saying as well. It's most like Warhammer 40K, like if we take like sheer video games, has a lot of video games. The problem is a lot of them are mobile cash grabs, like
Yep.
Clash of Clan type garbage. And it's like I don't consider those games. I literally just consider those consumer fodder. Are you dumb and mindless enough to actually pay for this shit kind of thing?
Yeah. And it's not like there haven't been other good video games, but there've been so many bad ones that maybe, I don't know if
It
you also
clouds
had.
the reputation.
Yeah, it clouded the reputation of the entire IP, in my opinion. And Games Workshop, and I think nothing. I still think for Dawn of War 3, even though it failed, because it failed, I think Games Workshop started taking their IP more seriously when it comes to stuff outside of their, like, plastic. You know?
And as well, it also like I think it encouraged them to kind of like I think Dawn of War 3's biggest problem was it tried to be over expansionist because again, it tried to be a MOBA because it tried to be in the same league as like League of Legends and stuff. Like it wanted to be an esports game. But to me, I feel like that runs into the problem of the same reason 10th editions as a tabletop game is having a problem of if you cater too much to competitive tryhards, the casual fans gonna be left out and they're not gonna like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, Nero, when we play Dawn of War, do we want to play LoL?
No.
Do we want to be on an esports team?
No.
So then who is Dawn of War 3 marketed towards, unfortunately? No one really. Because anyone who wanted to play in esports is locked into their games already. And like Dawn of War 3 wasn't even really that strictly good of a MOBA to begin with.
Yeah, but the Games Workshop did learn the lesson, and since then, I think percentage-wise, we were getting way more of like high-quality, good games. We still get a mobile cash grab game once in a while, but okay, tell me
at this
franchise
point,
that
it's kind of
doesn't.
coalesced to it's very specific games like Warforged, Tacticus, and whatnot. Like those are the big two, but by now they're kind of really the only two. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, and
That and like Horus Heresy, Legions. But like at this point, I really just use them as art sources for like minis and stuff.
Yeah, but if even even those ones, like, tell me a franchise that doesn't have like couple of mobile cash grab games. That's just like there is none.
Honestly, everything, because I'm gonna be honest, like as well, like I used to play a gotcha game quite a lot, and like that by definition is a cash grab game. Or like, and it's one thing that I haven't been playing as much as I probably should. Marvel Rivals. It's free, but if you want all the fancy, sexy skins, you need to pay top dollar or play for 30 hours straight.
Okay. Yeah. Um. Yeah.
It's not like these are like, totally unprecedented, like unknown things. It's like, it's stuff we already know, but it's like, it's disappointing that it's what it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. And now I think it's good time to talk about like the Dawn of War for developer. Henghast Games. I
Okay.
knew of them before that for like the game called Dwarves, which is basically like a RPG, real-time with post tactical RPG about like dwarves, which I played. It was fun, and but they kind of got on my radar like big time with the when they first announced the development of the Iron Harvest, the game that I'm
Mhm.
currently playing and that you can see. I hope you
Yes,
can.
I'm seeing it right now. Apparently a bear and a bunch of Polish people just shot a bunch of Russians.
Yeah, the Wojtek helped. Uh,
Yep.
but yeah, they I actually have supported them on Kickstarter initially for this game, and I think I'm
And
worth.
I hear, like, I'm not gonna drop names and everything, but I hear that your name is even in the credits.
I actually don't remember exactly if I donated enough money for that specifically. I think it was like tier to get the game and tier to get
Yeah,
the
you did.
game and name the credits. I don't remember. Let's think.
Yeah, you did. No one needs to know.
Let's assume. Yeah, and
Mhm.
so this is like RTS, and obviously you could see that. And now that you've seen it, I hope it kind of like presents what the Dawn of War 4 might look like, because I assume they gonna.
If it is, I think that Soren Bane from both of our communities will like it a lot more than they are expecting to. Because part of the reason they liked Dawn of War 2 was they liked the cover system in it. And the fact that this has like a cover system is nice. Because Dawn of War 1's cover system was very rudimentary, which is like, just move a unit into a shell crater and now it's in cover kind of deal. Dawn of War 3's again was very, very MOBA style dumbed down, where it's like, oh hey, we have shielded little bunkers everywhere, and that's your cover. Um, but if it's a cover system like this, because this reminds me a lot of Dawn of War 2 and Company of Heroes cover system.
Yeah, yeah. So we I think what one of the reasons why I'm playing it is because I feel like it could give us like a great idea of what the Dawn of War 4 might play like, because even now you could see like uh some people I heard talking about like the game, that it reminds me of Total War because it has like the unit like portraits at the bottom for the entire army. The first thing also was thinking first of the Total War because it's just the more famous. But once I found out the
Yeah,
name of the but once I found the that who the developer is, it I kind of got reminded of this game because you see the interface even from like the announcement trailer that we saw, it is very similar to it.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have
Although
the
I'm gonna be honest, like I don't think that should have really made people think too much of Total War because like every Dawn War except for 2, because 2 is like squad focused, so it's like it can't really have the portraits. 1 and 3 have like squad portraits, and it's like to me that doesn't streak as new. Like they're bigger and flashier, kind of Total War style, but I think that's more so just because of graphics updates. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So like for people thinking it's like, oh, it's gonna be Total War Warhammer, it's like I don't think it's gonna be that. It's to me just what it seems like it's just a result of the art getting better.
Yeah,
Technology marches on kind of deal.
yeah, and which is good. And we have talked with our other friend who talking about like our like what we liked and disliked about Dawn of War, and I agree with one point they made is that Warhammer was never about like base building and building bunch of units. That just
Hmm.
truth. It was the point. You get the point. You play tactical. You get units. That's it. To which I'm like,
Yeah.
reminded me in part of another game called World in Conflict that I absolutely love and I think is highly underrated.
I especially like it as well because to me, like I okay, it is my second favorite kind of the United States gets invaded kind of type game.
Yeah, for me,
Because
for
I've
me
always said
too.
it's like World in Conflict is cinematically like, the most fun and also like the most sense making. Mental Omega for me is the most this actually could work kind of deal for like a US
Yeah,
invasion kind of story.
yeah, and that game actually, even in the campaign, had a very nice system that is like actually almost exactly like how Warhammer army building works. You get like a couple of units at the
Mhm.
beginning because like that's how you work in the tactical
Yeah.
strategies, and then you get like a certain point
Yeah.
allotment with different units costing different values, and you just order them,
Mhm.
and once they're dead the point value returns to you over time so you can order more stuff and so on. And that's a system that I only seen in that game, and I'm surprised I haven't seen it in other games, and two, I'm surprised somebody haven't tried to make the same system but for the Warhammer game, be it fantasy or 40k.
I was about to say like that sounds like that could be a thing like oh like you get like every turn you have a 200-point reinforcement or replacement allotment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's even, or even for real life, and for real time strategy, you can make something with that.
Co się stało? Tam! Zaatakowali nasze
Mhm.
gospodarstwo! Tata i inni strzelają z okien!
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Trzeba im pomóc! Biegnij do wsi, my spróbujemy coś poradzić.
But yeah, like um so yeah, like what complex system was pretty nice.
Natychmiast ja się nimi zajmę!
Yeah, and
Pomóc w czymś? Osłona zawsze się przyda.
Dawn of War 4, I am cautiously optimistic. That's how I'm trying to be like all the time. Trying to. I hope for the better, but I am gonna expect the worst. If what I'm seeing is basically, yeah, people might call it reskin of the Iron Harvest or something like that. Doesn't That's okay. Every game is a reskin of another game. That's just how it
Pretty
works.
much. And especially sequels and in a lot of cases.
Yeah. or even like sequels from
Because one thing I discussed with a bunch of people, it's like I do agree with. So there's a famous YouTuber named Yahtzee Croshaw who does like video game reviews and stuff. One thing he outright said once was, when you're trying to make a sequel for a game, don't get the developers who did the last game, or get the people who made the last game to do it, because they're now fans of the game. And the problem with fans when it comes to game development is they want more of the same, and thus that stifles creativity. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, I understand that.
Because if you want more of the game, you're not gonna be open to like new suggestions or anything. Which again, that's a could be good, could be worse kind of thing. But oftentimes it is worse because then it's like you're stuck in the 2000s when you're trying to make a game for the 2020s.
Yeah. And even like when it comes to sequels made by a different company, let's look at the Baldur's Gate 3 as a more famous recently example. The first two games were done by BioWare, and it was like more of like classic real time with pause type of like RPG. It was so like religiously following that formula that you okay?
Yeah, I was just coughing. I'm eating popcorn.
Yep. Okay. It was so religiously following the formula of the real time with pause that I think playing it counts as fasting for the religious purposes.
Yep.
That's how much of the
Pretty much.
purest game it was.
Yeah.
And while again, nothing bad with that. If people like it, people like it.
Oh yeah. Like, I will agree to loving games that a lot of people call cringe or trash. And I will defend those. Like, I'll die on the hill for that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big fucker.
Yes. And he's dead.
Good.
Yeah. And but the but then the third game was done by the Larian Studios, who before that they were like they started out making like those type of like RPGs, but then they decided to actually set, you know what? Maybe the reason why millions of people don't play those games is because they are just not good for modern audience in terms of gameplay. And so they made absolutely amazing Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2. Learned their lessons and made absolutely bombastic like Baldur's Gate 3. That is like, yeah, it's an RPG based on the series that last received game almost 20 years ago at the point of the full release. But it gathered so much attention and millions of people played it. So, in my opinion, if the series goes from one developer to another, it might actually be for a better. For the series as a whole.
Maybe, because unfortunately, with the fact that Relic's dead, they don't have a choice, so they have to be a different one than it is like now.
Technically, they're still hiring. They're like in that weird. They are not doing great, but they're not dead yet.
Yeah, but it's like at this point, it's a person in the hospice, is how I describe it.
Look, I know people who work there, so like have worked. So let's not bury them yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the fact that the King Art Games now making Dawn of War 4, I feel like it, at the very least, it might actually be a fresh start for the franchise. Yeah, it is a sequel in the name.
Yeah, definitely.
And we do come back to the Kronus planet, thus Fear and Loathing on planet Kronus. I'm way too on point with. I'm way too obvious with all the references.
No, it's fine.
And
Мы закончили. Взять его.
I think that this is like pretty decently cinematically so far with C strategy games, and even though we don't get a lot of like base building, but we get it later on in the point, we see like a lot of things that just work, like the cover system. The squads are made out of small groups of soldiers. You can switch the ornaments on the fly by like equipping like something that was dropped by the enemies or just lies around, which is like great systems. And I think if they learned a lot from this game, because I played this on the release before they did bunch of like patches and release DLCs, so I'm somewhat so the game from back then, the last time I played it, I was satisfied with it, but I was constantly thinking that outside of like couple of hours of skirmishes or skirmishes with friends on casual Fridays and campaign, this game doesn't have that much variety stuff. Again,
Yeah.
I
And
haven't
unfortunately, that kind of gives it a bit of a, it kind of gives it a, it's setting itself as a set amount, you know what I mean?
yeah, which
Uratowała was
to
dziewczyna
each
z
their
niedźwiedziem?
own, but I don't think
Szukam
every
ojca.
game has
Został
to
porwany
be
przez niejakiego
you know,
pułkownika Zubowa.
To brata
constantly
Nicalecha.
engage you until the
Zorganizowała
end of
mieszkańców wsi w
times,
ruch
you know?
oporu I zapobiegła tragedii.
Yeah.
Przykro
Mhm.
mi.
I
Ale
can
twój
be
ojciec
totally
jest więźniem
satisfied with
pułkownika
playing,
Zubowa, a
replaying a
potem zostanie
decent
zabrany razem z
story
innymi.
mode or like
My
even like
Jesteśmy tutaj.
halfway
A tu jest
decent
dworzec kolejowy
skirmish
silnie
mode
strzeżony.
if I
Wielu nas
find
wczoraj
the
złapali.
core
Ci,
mechanics
których jeszcze nie ma
interesting.
na dworcu, są
There's a
uwięzieni
reason I
tutaj
still
albo
replay
tutaj.
like Dawn of War Dark Crusade from time to
Jeśli
time,
ich
or even
wywiozą,
Winter Assault,
już nigdy ich nie
or
zobaczymy.
Kane's Wrath,
W
Fury's
porządku.
Revenge for Commands and
Gdzie
Conquer.
mielibyśmy iść?
Oh, yeah.
Gonić mojego ojca
Yeah,
i twoich
or-
ludzi, zanim ich wywiozą.
Them
Chcesz
even
walczyć z
like
Zubowem i jego żołnierzami?
Nie,
for the
ale
real-time
zrobię
games
to, żeby
Rise of
ocalić
Nation,
ojca.
which was
Odważna
even
jak jej wuj. Ja
which
też
is
nie
like
będę tu
basically Age of
bezczynnie
Empires
siedzieć.
with extra
Chodźmy.
steps.
Nowe zadanie główne.
I find it
Okay.
satisfying,
Aha,
and
zaraz będę.
Mówisz
this
poważnie?
game again,
Ta
I
dziewczyna ma
haven't
nam
played it
rozkazywać?
since the update, so for
Studiok.
me it's also a little
Ona
bit
wie, co robi.
discovering new sides to it.
Oby.
I don't think
Надеюсь, хоть холод из костей вытрясу.
Холод? Ха! Дома у нас такое считалось теплой ночкой.
One thing I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts about. So for Dawn of War 4, they've already announced and confirmed there's going to be 4 factions at the launch, and they're going to have their own campaign. So the 4 factions, Space Marines, Admech, Necrons, and Orcs. Which are you the most excited for? Is the Necrons?
yeah, I'll be honest, although I will say I am kind of like I am rather surprised, but again, happily surprised to see Admech, because before that the only game they were really like featured in was Mechanicum, which is like
Was their own game, the Adeptus Mechanicus game.
yeah, which I think was actually pretty freaking great. I think that,
Yeah. But I think now, especially compared to like Dawn Wars 1 and 2, where Admech wasn't really an army, it was like an HQ choice. Oh shit. What did you do?
I don't know.
Well, shit.
That's okay, that's okay. That's the first time I'm playing it on my new PC, so maybe it's some kind of compatibility issue.
It's teething problems. Let it happen.
Yeah,
But
the game is a
so
backdrop
sorry. What
anyway.
were we on about again?
Yeah, I think the Mechanicus game was actually pretty good.
Aha,
I So I am kind of happy for them because they showed me
Ta dziewczyna ma nam rozkazywać?
the cool parts of the
Stulciu.
Mechanicus,
Ona wie co robi.
which is like
Oh,
the
and yeah, like, and that's the other thing as well, of why they're probably thinking of doing AdMech now. AdMech now have an army, whereas in Dawn Wars 1 and 2, they literally were just an HQ choice for Imperial Guard.
Yeah. I don't think like I think the only faction that was released that had an actual army book and whatnot in the game like during like Dawn of War times that wasn't in the on the tabletop, I mean that wasn't in the game proper, was actually the Tyranids who got their but they got their light to
They got theirs in 2, but like that required a whole other game.
yeah,
Pomóc w
which
czymś?
is again not bad. It's
Dajcie z
just
siebie wszystko.
Czego potrzeba?
it's just something that was like kind of missing back then.
Słucham.
Mhm.
Wygląda bezpiecznie.
Especially because, you know, one of Soulstorm's biggest marketing was, hey, here's pretty much most of the playable tabletop armies. You know, here we go.
Pomóc w czymś?
Yeah, and then
Zaraz
they
będę.
missed the entirety of the
Sisters of Battle have not been in a title since Soulstorm,
Уверен,
which
потому
I sorely miss.
Может, когда все кончится.
Because I do feel like, even though, like, I feel like they could be in for the same reason why, they could be in for the same reason why, I feel like people complained about them of, essentially, they're a hybrid of Guard and Marines. Of, like, you have the weapons and the power armor of Marines, but you have more than just, like, 5 dudes.
I'm gonna do quick save from time to time in case it's gonna break up. But yeah, sisters in
a
get
good
their
idea.
stuff.
Na rozkaz.
Dark Eldar also haven't been in any of the titles, like, since Soulstorm. Which I am more... Okay, I'm gonna be honest, this is where my bias is coming in. I'm less upset about, mostly because, realistically speaking, Dark Eldar are Eldar where you choose not to do Psychic, and you choose to go even more Glass Cannon-y.
And way more edgelord. They did have the time to
True, but that's
shine.
aesthetics rather than, like, gameplay.
Yeah, they did have that time to shine in Rogue Trader.
And an Inquisitor.
Oh yeah, true. So I think
They were a DLC enemy.
yeah, but still. I am though kind of like surprised that we didn't get like, at least right now they ain't talking about it, the Chaos faction in
I'm gonna be honest, I'm expecting Chaos to be like the overall like arc enemy of like all the stories.
Co teraz?
Because remember, Kronus was the planet that Eliphas tried taking in Dawn of War Dark Crusade.
Może więcej.
And Eliphas literally was such a fan favorite that they added him back into the game because people thought he was going to be in too. They didn't initially plan for him to be in Chaos Rising, did you know that?
really.
Nieźle ich przetrzepiliśmy.
Yeah, it's literally, they thought Henghast was Eliphas. And so everyone in the ground was like, oh, Eliphas is gonna be in the game, sweet. And then Relic's just like, no he isn't.
Idę.
But holy shit, there's a lot of people who want him. Sneak him into the
popular
game.
characters. I mean, he is a popular character. And
I will admit, like, I don't like how, like, again, it's, you know, it's the unfortunate fate of voice changing. I
Słucham.
don't like that he no longer had the sexy voice from Dark Crusade. Because, like, part of the reason why he was popular was because Dawn of War as a whole kind of has this problem of Relic only likes corn.
Zajęta jestem.
Yeah.
So because
yeah.
of that, every Chaos Lord is a frothing madman. But it's like, see one frothing madman, see them all. They're not rememberable. Like, Nero, can you tell me the names of the other 3 Chaos Lords in the Dawn of War 1 series?
I'm struggling.
There you go. You've already failed because they sound and act the same.
Yeah.
So like the fact that Eliphas was not a frothing madman, the fact that he was a very, well-spoken, eloquent, like, I will taunt you and I will do so in a way that will downright hurt you.
Damn. Even
Like, to me,
Myślisz, że teraz zajmiemy
Hmm?
dworzec?
even like in Russian dub, he was absolutely entertaining to watch. He was like absolutely great. He always had the shit to talk about everyone, and it was always entertaining. So the
it's
fact
like,
that even
again,
the dub
that
didn't fuck him
that to
up,
me makes a better villain than blah 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 blah.
Chodźcie z nami. Te RKM-y nam pomogą.
Like, again, hear one madman, you fucking hear them all. It's like, you struggle to remember the names. I'll remember it because I played Dawn of War religiously. But the fact that Eliphas had that cool feel to them, that's what made like a lasting villain.
yeah.
But kind of going back to it, I'm assuming Chaos is going to be the overarching villain because again, this is the planet that Eliphas was first defeated on.
Już idę.
And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it might be immediately because here's the thing: the Necrons was kind of predicted for Dawn of War 4
Really?
because in the ending of 3, they revealed that the Necrons noticed that Acheron, blew up the planet that you were fighting on in 3,
Słucham.
and so like the tease was like a Necron awakening,
Chodźmy.
and so my assumption was that if Dawn of War 3 continued like doing good, they probably would have made an expansion to add Necrons in as a faction.
That actually
But
makes so much
unfortunately, as
sense.
history proved, Dawn of War 3 failed and they just scrapped that idea and maybe they recycled it for 4, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. But I do
Tam są wrogowie.
I do like
Liczy się
that.
każdy strzał.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Byle szybko! Z pozdrowieniami od Polani!
And then as well, because here's the thing, they said at launch. So I bet you either via DLC or via game expansions, they're probably going to add the other factions. I bet you first one going to be added in is probably Forces of Chaos.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of
Osłona zawsze się przyda.
have like the
Тут никого.
example
Продолжайте
of
поиски.
the
Мятежники могут
Total
быть где
War
угодно.
Warhammer, where it was
Na nóżce.
the Chaos was like the DLC faction. Yeah, a pre-ordered DLC faction, I
Yeah.
think, which I think it soured the game for
It
some people.
was slightly soured because, like, it's like you are in the game. Why are you giving us? And like, here's the thing: it's fine now because people didn't react that badly with ogres, despite the fact they were the exact same thing, a pre-order faction.
To te mechy. Co
But I
więcej,
think it's-
But I think because again, when they were released, this was the first like fantasy, like Total War. So of course they were like, leery, and people were like, "Oh, you give me a DLC at the start,"
Надеюсь, хоть
but
холод
which
из
is always a
костей вытрясу.
nasty taste for gamers.
дома у нас такое считалось теплой ночкой. Тяжелая у вас работенка, а?
Дайте
Yeah, but
передохнуть.
I think it's also like in my head, like Chaos is very synonymous with Warhammer, like orcs. Orcs, don't get me wrong, they're cool and they're very unique compared to basically
I would think
every-
Lord of the Rings or something, if not Warhammer.
Yeah, but the Warhammer orcs are very unique compared to literally every
Not-
other orc.
I'm gonna be honest. True, but it's also like, again, it kind of falls under a weird archetype because, again, if you say orc to a crowd of people, 4 people like there are gonna be 4 different opinions. People are gonna think Lord of the Rings orcs, so like kind of lanky, darkish skinned, orcs. You might get Warhammer orcs, big brutish slugs with Cockney accents, and like a thick gorilla jaw and that stuff. you get people thinking Warcraft works. So like, you know, essentially a race of barbarians. And then you might have what I call the Japanese orc, which is, you know, like a pig head. A pig head. Like, you know, dude.
Trzeba było zostać w rozwiedzi!
Yeah, yeah.
Jasne.
That's
Like,
that's true.
orcs have
That's
like
true.
such a different thing. But it's like, even though it kind of set an archetype, Chaos is so distinctly Warhammer.
To coś da?
Yeah,
Because, again, what is Warhammer kind of about? Grim, darkness, and like, you know, edginess. And the fact that Chaos is the one faction in every setting that is not trying to be
Consistent.
different,
Baza jest nasza!
so, you know,
Niech żyje
that's not trying to be different,
Bolania!
it really exemplifies everything that there is for Warhammer.
Jestem Anna.
Yeah,
Anna Wielka,
and
wojowniczka, snajper,
even like the
poskramiaczka
entire
niewidzi.
visual style of Chaos is basically, yeah, we're trying to be the
Mogłoby się przydać, gdybyśmy je
Frank
zabrali.
Preceptor. Like
Brać te granaty.
we want every model to be like knock-off Death Dealer from Frank Preceptor, which is like
Yeah. Because
not bad.
the Imperium will look evil because they resemble, like, you know, authoritarian governments and, like, regimes from, you know, our time.
Idę.
And that's evil in kind of like a historical and a kind of fear of repeats of historical kind of way.
Już idę.
Yeah,
Whereas Chaos, they're like, I'm wearing a baby's a foreskin on my face, and I've got like skulls of like all the people I skull fucked all over my armor. I am not trying to be the good guy in any capacity.
yeah, they're like the how death metal, black metal bands want to be perceived. But that's just
Like,
mine.
there's a very funny Sojak meme I found, which is like the town Imperium kind of complaining like, "No, I'm the good guy, you're the bad guy," and then Chaos and Dark Eldheart's like, "Hey, first eat 10 babies."
I might be better on the Chaos guys. Dark Elders looks like they gonna watch.
Only because they're bigger. Although the
Yeah.
Eldar might do it faster.
Maybe.
But yeah, like the fact that Chaos is just emblematically Warhammer, like that's that kind of why they feel like a core part. Because frankly, if you take out Chaos from Warhammer Fantasy, you have pretty much every generic cookie cutter like fantasy world ever.
Yeah, even with the Warhammer Fantasy trying to, like, they have some unique stuff like Skaven, one of the best creations by Games Workshop, period. I don't think I've
Yeah.
seen that even like to that level, at least. Like maybe Warcraft goblins, maybe, but even then it's like still Skaven probably still like the most unique creation of them, because I feel it's the total
Yeah, because
original thing.
it's honestly the one that you can tie the least to, because elves are literally just exaggerations of Tolkien elves in their biggest form. The Empire is literally, hey, here's the Holy Roman Empire, we just gave them magic and prayers that immediately work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like Cathay, where it's like, oh hey, the Emperor is literally a dragon, not metaphorically.
Yeah. And yeah, but the Chaos is like the one who is like the most visually consistent throughout the entire franchise. Like, you can take like Chaos Warrior in AOS, Fantasy, and Warhammer 40k and transport him into either of those. They gonna be like looking, they're gonna be looking, yep, you look appropriate,
Gotowi do akcji.
you know?
Zrozumiano.
And even then, like I said, it's kind of like Tolkien and D&D kind of like created like the baselines for like most fantasy settings. But I think Warhammer is kind of catching up a bit in kind of leaving its own mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah, AOS I think did a little bit more progress with that. But that just coming from the person who doesn't really, who never was like the Warhammer Fantasy guy. I was always more of like 40k person just because like I like sci-fi more than I like fantasy. Not by much, but still.
Uzupełnić amunicję.
And
Chodźmy.
Oh, Nero. So to kind of illustrate my point, yeah, I'm gonna send you an image.
let me. Yeah. Wait,
This is from Goblin Slayer. This is
That's-
officially from Goblin Slayer.
hey, that's an official fucking art. Let me just.
Yes. You want to
Okay.
know what his name is? Chaos Marine.
It's so on fucking point.
But like, yeah, like, it's now created its own silhouette.
Yeah, I have to show this. Like, yeah. This is like the epitome of like the Warhammer like power armored like
It's just
silhouette
a
type of
Warhammer
guy.
kind of like visualization.
Yeah.
It's a bulky dude with skulls, a oversized weapon, and armor that looks like it belongs on a fridge.
Yeah. Honestly, if you didn't say he named Chaos, I would have assumed just normal, but that's just historical upgrade.
Especially because I think he looks like he has the Ultramar toilet seat on his cloak.
Yeah, inverted Omega. I mean, like, that's kind of like a thing of like that we ask like the store staff, like who Warhammer store, they gonna tell you like, yeah, they got like the Chaos Marines, then the Chaos Marines became the most popular, I mean, Chaos Warriors for fantasy, and then they tried to create the Space Marines to have this similar visual profile slash silhouette as the Chaos Warriors. Then that's how they created Space Marines, then they created Chaos Space Marines, and it just goes circular back. Basically,
And then
evolution.
when AOS came, they then created the Stormcast to give Order a kind of like Marine equivalent.
Pomóc w czymś?
Yeah.
Idę.
I mean, we basically got to the point where, like,
Tam są nasze mechy.
it's
kilku
all
rozwietów.
about visual profile of a Chaos Warrior.
Mhm.
Niech to będzie przestrogą dla...
And again, like fantasy, because through like the older fantasy IPs,
Saperzy powinni
like
sobie
you remember
poradzić.
like Slambo and like the other old style Chaos stuff. Like do you remember my Chaos Warrior from Hero Quest that we played
Yeah.
in Christmas?
Rozumiem?
Like that's already kind of like a trademark generic fantasy kind of like shape, and that's one thing Warhammer as a whole did.
Yeah, and yeah, so I think it takes us a lot about it, like.
Gotowe. Jest jak nowe.
So yeah, but coming back on track for the this game, the Iron Harvest, you could see like the gameplay. It's already like looks decent as a squad based RTS.
Naprawy
So
ukończone.
we might
Yeah.
what I
Chodźmy.
think is we might be able to like
Potrzeba? W drodze.
we might
Dobra,
be
dobra,
able to
uruchomimy.
like gauge like what it's gonna be like, and even from like a very like short trailer that we saw that hey, it has resources, and it looked like it has the very same resources
Palmy go.
as the original Dawn of War. It looked like requisition point as energy. This game also has two resources, iron and oil.
Słucham.
Yeah.
Jakieś rozkazy?
Kanonierzy gotowi!
Potrzeba czegoś?
Oh, shit. And the interface looks
Oh,
like
you're under
that.
attack by things.
Yep.
Pomóc w czymś?
Yeah.
Idę.
What we have is
That poor guy just got jammed.
Yep. But what we have is like the score base, and we.
Kochany
Okay,
Wojtek.
tell me, how many units, like, you can have in the original Dawn of War, like average? How
I would
many?
say about 20.
Yeah, 20 different units, which is like
Co
it's
teraz?
a lot,
Chodźmy.
but still like not as much as like some other strategies can get, and this because the game reminds me of like because of like the interface they shown us already, it already looks like a modified interface for this game. Like when I select a unit,
It probably is going to be very heavily based on it.
yeah, yeah,
Pomóc w
and
czymś?
even like Total War, which seems like it's a giant
Jak to
battles,
wszystko się
but it's
skończy,
still only
trzeba
20
zamknąć
units.
kielicha.
Like a lot of
It's
strategy.
just that, you know, each unit can be like 20, like 80 dudes or something.
Yeah, but it's still command only like 20 units, and they
Yeah.
could have been
And they
represented.
move like a brick, kind of like how Warhammer units in tabletop move.
Yeah.
Z pozdrowieniami Ragnar!
Yeah, so what we might end up having is that a very similar mechanics for some of the stuff.
Grupa wrogów!
Nie wychylać się! Inaczej się nie da!
Mhm.
Jak uczył mnie Janek.
I can see that happening very, very easily.
Ja się nimi zajmę.
Yeah, especially if they gonna introduce like stuff like where that this game had and the actual Company of Heroes had, but we didn't get it in Dawn of War. At least I do not remember having it in Dawn of War, like directional armor, where the armor from the rear actually is thinner than from the front.
Company of Heroes 2 had that with
Yeah.
directional armor.
Yeah, I don't know if the
It is the main reason why I hated using tank destroyers from the German and Soviet armies. Because fixed chassis turrets sucked.
Yeah, but we never got it in Dawn of War series. At least I don't remember. So maybe in like
No, in Dawn of War 2, yes, we did. Facing mattered, and shooting things from the rear took extra damage.
yeah,
In Dawn of War 1, it didn't matter, but in 2, it did.
but you rarely got to actually operate the tanks, and usually if you're fighting against vehicles, it was that you're fighting against vehicles.
It was either like in campaign where it's like you're purposely overpowered because you're telling the story, or in multiplayer it's like it's a mini boss fight, not like a kind of like just a big unit.
Yeah, but when it
Because like Predator's kind of like a oh shit, I need to concentrate, and seeing something like a Land Raider is like I gotta bring out like the boss killers kind of, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Dzięki za ratunek, panowie. I pani.
Mój ojciec ma metalową
One thing
rękę. Może go
I did like about 3, like okay, very 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 biased. I like that 3 had a lot of knight units.
Chcą odbić
So like Space
dworzec.
Marines got access to Imperial Knights, Orcs got the Gorkin Morkanot, the Eldar had 2 variants of a Wraith Knight.
Odsłonić CKM-y, podłożyć miny,
I
zająć stanowisko obronne.
do kind of like that kind of like vehicular mech combat.
Hmm.
Not just because one, I play both Chaos and Imperial Knights.
Rozkazy? Obsadzamy karabin
It's a good part of it, but not just because.
Potrzeba worków, saperzy przygotowują dział
Misji na
przeciwmechowe.
rozkaz.
But like one thing I will say, like I like, but I also am kind of leery about is you know how with modded Dawn of War 1, you can have stupid shit like Emperor class Titans, or like even the Emperor, or like the Primax and shit. I don't realistically like that kind of scale, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I understand
Like-
what you mean.
Like, here's the thing. In Dawn of War 1, like, I had the mods that allow for a Warhound Titan, so the smallest Scout Titan.
Świetnie.
I have mods that allow for that, and it's like, to me, this feels like the biggest it should be able to get, you know what I mean?
Czy możemy pomóc?
I understand you.
Because anything bigger than this, it feels like it should belong in a game that looks more like Imperialis than anything.
Przygotować się do ostrzału. Gotów do namierzania celów. Zmiana pozycji zgodnie z rozkazem. Czego potrzeba?
Yeah.
Potrzeba
Who
worków
knows?
z
Maybe
kaskiem?
we're gonna get introduced to some of like something that I was liking and I actually enjoyed in like some Company of Heroes 2 and Man of War 2 is the ability to build to build like minefields and stuff, you know. That was the cool thing. Maybe we're gonna have like tech
In Dawn
marines.
of War 1, we had that. 2, you didn't really have it because, again, it was squad based, so it's like, it's more a single mine rather than like a minefield.
Yeah,
Uwaga!
and that was an ability.
Potrzeba czegoś? Wróg!
Specific to one dude.
Poczęstujmy ich!
Gotowi! Czekamy na rozkaz!
Mamy ich na muszce! Natychmiast! Spokojnie!
By the way, Nero, we don't have game audio.
Oh, I think it's super quiet.
To jeszcze
I
nie
just...
koniec!
Oh, hang on. Sorry, hang on.
Ej, ty tam! Gdzie Lechkos?
I just put it
Gdzie
because
jest mój
we're,
ojciec?
it's mainly talking thing. I
Twój?
basically
A,
killed the game
дочка
audio,
профессора Дыбовски.
so
Ну,
it's
конечно.
not super.
Oh, sorry, never mind.
Напоминал. Знал бы я раньше.
Anyway, sorry.
Давай
I have you on 1% volume so that way I don't hear your voice doubled, but yeah.
подскажешь мне, где твой дядя?
Yeah, I basically try to kill the game audio as much as I can so it doesn't distract and we are clearly heard.
Твой отец не
Because again, mainly talking thing. But yeah,
сведения.
yeah, my hopes mainly is that we gonna get like, I understand that it might not be that it's not the Warhammer way of like base building and whatnot, but I just like that type of like RTS, so I just hope we're gonna get way more
Szykujcie się!
Nowe zadanie główne.
way more base building.
Mhm.
That's just a thing that
Because I do like to kind of like you know, base defense kind of thing with it. Although I'm gonna be honest, I feel like this is both of our Iron Warrior and Imperial Fist kind of fanboy and fangirlism kind of coming in.
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna
We
deny
like
this.
base building because both of our legions are base builders.
Yeah, even though mine is mainly base breaking, but the point stands.
Yeah. Yeah.
To niedaleko. Będzie zrobione.
Yeah, and I see nothing wrong if they gonna only get a very limited base building for the campaign, but the main game actually gonna be, but the skirmish gonna lean more into it. Like, I think that's why I think it's healthy to have like a very different options.
Yeah. Because choice is always usually good. Like, okay, can I sound a bit ableist? I feel like choice is the ultimate like highlight of it. Is does the game have love and care?
Yeah, yeah.
Because part of the reason why I'm irritated with like like a lot of things going into Legends for Warhammer and stuff, especially like under the excuse of, oh, we don't want to stat every like thing and consider everything for like, you know, these things. To me, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, it's very rude, but all I have to say is skill issue. I remember the entirety of the Space Marine range, the Chaos Marine range, and like, you know, everything because I actually put effort into it. And if you're complaining that you don't know the difference between an intercessor and a tactical marine,
Nigdzie się nie wybieramy.
fucking start reading, you illiterate idiot.
Za Polonię!
That's all I got to say.
Yeah, yeah. I'm I always was like of my impression the more the merrier in strategies. Like,
Yeah.
as long as options feel meaningful, I want more options. Because I don't need like the problem, for example, with right now with the Space Marines range, for example, it feels to me is that there's way too many units that just fill up the exact same niche.
Like they're doing the same job. Like it's that one Suicide Squad meme. He does exactly what I do.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like kind of deal. Yeah, I get that. But for me, like I think that's also a bit of the problem, like slightly currently with the fact they are slowly trying to phase out Firstborn with from Mars. But one thing I'll say, like sometimes the transition's fine. Like Intercessor, like Tactical Marines to Intercessor, I think that transition's going fine because at this point, the Intercessor squad is what you wanted out of a Tactical Marine. It's what? It's Marines with bolters, maybe a slight special weapon, and then, you know, a Sergeant with a surprisingly not bad melee weapon, right?
Yeah.
But like, for Devastators, because Devastators are like, you could have built guys for like anti-crowd, you could have built guys for anti-tank. I feel like there's a bit of, you know, a problem with the fact that the Devastators have been turned into 5 different units across the Pamaris range.
Yeah.
Because the Multi-Gunners are now the Eradicators. The Missile Launchers are now the Desolators. We don't have a last cannon squad yet. Hellblasters, kind of.
Kinda.
Like,
I mean,
the problem is the Hellblasters feel more like a plasma gun squad from the Heresy rather than a plasma cannon Devastator squad, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. there's
So it's like they don't even replace that well.
Yeah, I think in that regard, I think they spread too thin and that they try to make every unit basically be exclusively its own thing, and it bloated the rules way more than it should have been. Like,
Because put it this way, like here's the biggest like interesting like complaint I once heard from someone who hasn't played Warhammer, but I showed them like data sheets and stuff. So like essentially there's a bit of a different opinion. So the Devastator data sheet is thick as fuck,
yes,
to say the least, because it's accounting for you can arm it with like so many different guns, the sergeant can have so many different armaments and shit. So like as an individual sheet, the Devastator data sheet is thick as fuck.
yeah,
But now, again, if you look at the Mars version, specific squads are of course, a lot neater because it's probably assumed, oh, everyone has the same gun. But now it's in 5 different data sheets, so like kind of what's easier to read? One thick as shit or 5 thinner ones?
yeah. And if they wanted to solve problem of like way too many weapons, they could have done the thing that is like in Heresy with like weapon squads, where it's like, hey, you can only have like one type of special weapons.
One ornament.
Yeah, and just
Yeah,
make it
like
that.
it feels like they tried doing that, but the problem is they then just made a datasheet for each gun, and it's like, no, just make one body and then just say you can be armed with X, Y, Z.
Czy tata był profesorem dybowskim?
Yeah, for
But I
example.
think that's also the big problem compared to. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, ego.
Yeah, what they could have done, for example, is that, hey, let's have eradicators. Use them as a body.
Mm-hmm.
Make a
Czemu nikt mi nie
squad with like graviton guns. If that, no. Let's scale power armor. Our normal tacticus armor. We have hellblasters and
Yeah.
desolators.
Okay.
And we
Okay.
also have Infernus, technically. They could have just made them all the same
Yeah.
data sheet and just said, hey,
Mm-hmm.
if they have, because like they have the same strength, same toughness,
A special
same,
weapon squad or something.
yeah, and just
Yeah.
say that, hey, if you're equipped with that,
kiedy tylko pochowam ojca.
with the axe weapons, your squad get that ability. Yeah, the individual data sheet would have taken both pages. Or like the entire page if we're talking like the codex cover, or like both sides of the card if we're talking index cards. You get the point. But it would have been one card / one page rather than 5 different pages that might not even be next to each other.
Yeah. Especially because sometimes codices don't really have a like theme or anything with like how they're arranged. Like a few times they are actually arranged pretty well, and here's the tank killers, here's the infantry killers, kind of deal. But sometimes it's literally just like, where the fuck do I find this squad in this book?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's more obvious now is that epic heroes, battle line, then it's just other squads, infantry.
Wait for all.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's infantry and vehicle, and honestly, I feel like this is the problem with a list building in 10th edition. Because again, the fact that there is very little difference between a assault squad and a Terminator squad in terms of where they fall under in the force organization chart. Because those are two different roles and two different abilities, a Terminator squad and like an assault marine squad with jump packs. It's like this I feel why it feels like it needs more the older 40k / heresy where we came from. Kind of FOC where it's like one's a fast attack, one's an elite. Because to me that organizes it a lot better.
Yeah. And that's what we're getting, but I think that gets a little bit more into the 40k specific issue. But coming back to Dawn of War, what do you hope?
Yeah.
What do you hope? Like, not expect, but hope.
So my big hopes that I kind of have for it are, one, I do want to see a return to cast of okay, I'm gonna be honest. Again, I'm gonna look at this from the Blood Raven Space Marine perspective because that's the campaign I'm probably gonna play first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna look at it like this. I want to see all the characters from Dawn of War 2 come back, and subsequently, because a lot of them shared the Dawn of War 1 ones too. I did want to see return to cast because again, part of what why I love Dawn of War is the characters. Dawn of War 2 squads, they were a quirky bunch. So I want them back, even if it's just oh, it's mentions, or if it's here's one of them's now a commander and whatnot. So I do want that. One thing I do want is I do want base building because as much as I love Dawn of War 2's it feels like a very expanded game of kill team kind of design with it. I do kind of want the epic mass battle scale of that 1 and 3 gave me. The other thing I kind of want is, again, I want more factions because I want Eldar in some capacity. I damn right want my Chaos. But here's the thing. I do want undivided Chaos rather than a Cult Legion. In terms of gameplay, it's like, as long as they kind of do to like what Dawn War 1 did, because like 3 kind of became complicated because like with all the different stratagems and whatnot, it kind of felt like, what the fuck am I building? I'm literally just gonna pick the most simple one so I don't need to think about it. I do kind of want Dawn War 1 style like warrior upgrades where it's like, oh, you can spend a requisition to give the squad a heavy bolter and whatnot, stuff like that. In terms of campaign, like I heard that they're gonna do 4 campaigns. I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of wondering what were those campaigns turn out, because like have you played Battlefield Gothic Armada 2?
Yeah.
So like, you know how in Battlefield Gothic, like your campaign is actually your faction winning Warhammer.
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering if they're gonna do something similar to that, like, and they'll be kind of similar to like, the Dark Crusade and Soulstorm games, where it's like, oh hey, your campaign is your faction, like, overall winning out this planet, and then there's like a whole mini story about it.
That would be interesting.
I'll be into that.
Yeah. For me,
And especially like I will say, my one hope, I just hope for more mimetic lines. And here's the thing, I also want more relics for the Blood Ravens, because Blood Ravens, their biggest meme, but it's also like a very endearing meme sometimes, is their ability to steal random shit.
yeah.
Because one of my biggest jokes I often make at Dawn War 3's expense is, it's the worst Dawn War game because since there's no relics added on, the Blood Ravens weren't able to steal shit.
I mean, there is a reason for it. Yeah. I personally hope, I do hope for the, if I want to campaign to be at least a little bit cinematic, even if it's gone.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, I still say that for the cinematic campaigns, for me the top is Command and Conquer, Tiberium Sun, and the Red Alert 3. If we're talking about exclusively like, hey, this is like,
We need a sexy lady telling us that we're doing a good job. Got it.
yeah, well, that's true. That's true too. Yeah, and when it comes to like the RTS, like the one with the base building, the one with the unit building, all that. Because if we're talking about more of like tactics with that doesn't have much in terms of base building, like the World in Conflict, yeah, that's a different story. It is absolutely cinematic, and I think it aged pretty well in terms of like gameplay, so that could be too.
Definitely.
Gotowi do akcji. Natychmiast!
Jeden, dwóch, może więcej.
And I want, honestly, for the variety's sake, I want to have some missions where we do have base building and some missions where it's more limited, where we have like, yeah, just deal with what you have. You have X units, try to deal with them. And one thing I'm afraid of, and that's something that in my opinion Dawn of War tried to do but it didn't work out super perfectly, is that some units age as you progress through the technology tree. Basically, there are like a couple of units that are like, yeah, they basically became useless because you got a straight up upgrade.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the unfortunate thing with Total War type games, where it's like by the end of your campaign, you're running with an army that honestly is probably not tabletop legal.
Yeah, which is like, again, I do not think it is bad on its own, but
Mhm.
if you do make an army, don't make every unit be replaceable by something else. I think
Give everything a purpose, so to say.
yeah. Again, you even like, I will come back to that, to two games for that, because that's just the ones that I think are absolutely amazing examples of it. Company of Heroes 2 and World in Conflict. Those are the two games where, yeah, I can make a tank doomstack. But the basic infantry with rocket launchers will fuck them up super fast. And
Yep.
Co teraz? Już idę. Ja się nimi zajmę.
and if it comes to that, like the basic squads of infantry, they were like super useful throughout the entire game, which is like, yeah,
Well,
that's,
effectively, what we want is we want to hold the real life axiom of like flanks can take ground, but infantry holds it kind of deal. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it's even true to the 40k, modern 40k
Mhm.
to an extent, because yeah, you can build stuff, but
You're like holding anything.
yeah, your tank
My
can
10
destroy.
cultists will rob your tank blind.
Punkt zbiórki ustalony. Zbieranie obsady działa. Formowanie oddziału
Yeah,
grenadierów.
and I want to, because I know that's already they are making the, because they are making the Primaris range. That's just the thing.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
just the thing they're doing. They're
Unfortunately, promised 10 years ago is a lie.
what promised 10 years ago?
Mój wujek
That
często wpada na
Primaris
takie
aren't
pomysły?
there to replace you for the Spawn collection.
Z bohaterów albo
Hmm.
pozabijać? Nieustannie.
That was kind of, honestly, I kind of like knew that it might be a lie.
Jaki mamy plan?
But it's
Mhm.
also like the case of like they are the business, and they can't just have like somebody be
Gotowi do akcji. Do punktu.
somebody just, they can't just come up with the tactical marines in the primary scale and expect people to actually, you know, buy it.
Zajmowanie nowej
They
pozycji.
It's
might,
just this one going in. I remember how I always say like how fantasy died?
yeah,
Because again, competitive Jim, he's bought Army 10 years ago and he's not changed it. Like actually he'll maybe buy characters so, but he's not changed.
Samo się nie zbuduje.
Maybe
yeah,
he'll get one unit of like the new skulls, but then that's a limited amount.
Tak?
So it's not like that they can make a lot of money off a competitive gym. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Chodźmy. Ostatni zamyka drzwi. Oczy szeroko otwarte. Obrony.
So like it's an unfortunate thing of like even though I'm quite attached to my firstborn because for me I'm attached to the firstborn because I loved how accessible customizable they were because you literally like take any legs, take any torso, take any like arm and whatnot from any marine kit, even across Chaos Marines, and boosh, you can make a dude. I loved that because that to me spoke to why I kind of got into Warhammer, which is the customization and the kit bashing.
Więcej zasobów.
I hate clone armies. Even during my brief stint playing Star Wars Legion, I never do clones, even with clones.
Nowe zadanie główne.
yeah, I understand. I also I yeah, but one thing about that is that I wished I wish they just replaced the unit as in like, hey, we ain't making new unit replacement, we just making a model replacement. But I also understand that not everybody would have bought it in this case, and it would have not been the best decision financially.
Well, guess what? Again, if 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 I just got Pamaris Devastators, so to say, or like Pamaris Tactical Squad, I'm gonna look at that and be like, okay, the newer kids get the big models. I'm salty firstborn. If it's the same for you.
Yeah.
Because the fact they did make stats different, it's like it is kind of scummy, but it's also kind of needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. But I also don't think a lot of people realistically, at least if they are actually realistic, expected Games Workshop to just keep making the old sculpt all that time, you know?
Like the big thing is like I don't care about making more of the old scope, so to say. I just, my selfish wish was that it wasn't obsolete, or that now I'm stuck in Legends, the realm of I need to ask people if I can play my army.
Postawcie nas na odległość rzutu granatem.
Słucham.
Yeah, that's just an unfortunate situation to be in. And
Już idę.
there is no like nice way out of it. If once you're in the Legends, it is a very high chance that you're gonna stay in Legend.
But here's the other kind of fear I have as well with Legends, is that not only is it you're stuck there, but it's also like you might not last next edition's Legends.
Wróg w pobliżu.
Ja się nimi zajmę.
Because their claim in 9th edition that Legends will be here forever, that's a lie too, because hey, the Caradon chapter master, where's his stats? There, Manson, where's the stats?
I don't know, mate. I don't know.
They're not in Legends. It's literally top fucking what to use him as a Terminator captain. Even though he's armed with nothing that the Terminator captain can take.
Yeah.
It's like, they even broke that promise, because then it's like, yes, you theoretically can, like, as a base, but it's like, it feels wrong. It feels wrong for Tyboros to have a gun, because he can't have two melee weapons.
Oddział wroga zlikwidowany.
Nie bardzo wiem, jak tego używać.
Or again, like Astel and Moloch. It feels weird for him not to have a shield, because Terminator captains can't take shields unless they're Lysander.
Będzie jak prosto z fabryki.
Yep. And do you think they're gonna make a full Primaris range out of like in the? Do you think they're gonna make a full Primaris range out of the in New Dawn of War? So instead of like tacticals, we're gonna have like the Assault Intercessors, heavy intercessors.
Oh, in
etc.
terms of like, so like unit lineup for tabletop or for Dawn of War purely?
For Dawn of War. Do you think they're gonna basically take the current...
From what I'm seeing, I'm pretty sure they're gonna follow kind of like what tabletop is, because we've seen from what we've seen intercessors, we've seen eradicators, and we've seen the Redemptor. So part of the reason why I think they're gonna do this is because of this. What else does Dawn of War 4 serve a purpose of outside of being a video game? It's an ad.
Yeah.
It's an ad for the tabletop. And so like, say Dawn of War 4 comes out and it's good, right?
Yeah.
Now here we have Sally. Sally loves Dawn of War. She goes into a Warhammer store and she's like, oh hey, do you have all these units that I played in the game. If Warhammer is able to point her exactly at the units like that she remembers and that she recognizes, she's more likely to kind of like it, kind of get into it because it's familiar ground.
Prosto z fabryki.
Because part of the reason why they brought back the old world was because Warhammer Fantasy started getting a lot of traction thanks to Vermintide and Total War.
Yeah, which was a
Because
pretty nice.
you then have people asking like, "Oh, hey, where's the Empire?" Or, "Hey, where's the Kislev? Where's the Cafe?" And the fact that back then it was when it was just AOS, they just had to go like, "Oh, it's in a setting that we don't sell anymore." Do you get customers out of that? No.
No. But now we have
Yeah,
like
so that's why I'm pretty sure they're trying to keep it, the same across. Like they might have a slight differentiation, you know, different variants of it. Because take Space Marine, like arguably the most popular Warhammer 40k game right now, right?
yeah,
I
undoubtedly. I
love
would say.
how pretty much yeah, so it's like most of the ornaments you can take on your Space Marines and PvP and PvE, those aren't warrior options your Marine typically can actually take.
Gotowi. Łapcie! Grenadierzy gotowi.
Because like,
Czekamy
let's
na
look at tactical. You have the melter rifle from Eradicators. You have depending on chapter, the bolt carbine, which only the Space Wolves can have on Tacticus bodies.
Really?
And also, yeah, because Space Wolf Grey Hunters, they're a new kind of like the Space Wolf specific infantry. Their ornament is bolt carbine and chain sword, so it actually fits exactly the tactical. But like things like the Phobos guy again. You know who doesn't have the melter rifle? The guy in Gravis armor, the guy who in tabletop realistically has it. Even though he does have the tabletop accurate multi-melter too. But again, like the Tattoo also has the Heavy Intercessor's Heavy Bolt Rifle, which again, only Heavy Intercessors in Gravis have in tabletop. So like, even then, like, Space Marine 2 kind of gets away with lying, so to say. Just because it's like, it's allowed to break the mold because it's fun. Because, no, if we 100% were stuck with tabletop accurate loadouts, would you really have as much fun doing customizations?
No.
No. Because then it would get boring, and then it's like, oh, but what? Why can I not take this? Like, why does the heavy have to have the melter rifle and the multi-melter and the heavy bolter and the heavy bolt rifle, and not anything else? Because then it's like, yeah, it is kind of stifling. So that's why I do understand, especially because Games Workshop outright said to Relic back when they were doing Dawn of War 1, it's like, yeah, screw with the lore a bit, or it's like screw with like formation a bit, just so long as it makes gameplay work. But I think that it's a balance because again, we want to get Sally like comfortable with what she knows, but we also want to get Sally like a fun game so that way she's interested in the first place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Zaraz będę. Jeśli to coś da.
And do you think like it's, let's assume it is successful, do you think the game gonna get DLCs eventually? And how do you think it's gonna look like?
I think so, but the big thing that I'm kind of wondering about is DLCs in what form? Because again, like, are we gonna get faction DLCs, or are we gonna have the traditional Dawn of War style where it's like, here's an expansion that's pretty much almost an entire game in and out of itself? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ktoś tu się prosi o bęcki.
That's why I'm kind of curious to see, like, or just kind of see what it is, or is it kind of gonna be like the Tide games, like Vermin and Dark Tide, where it's like, oh hey, here's a new class or something, or like here's a new faction, and that's about it.
Yeah, there's mean,
Ooh,
there is also
Actually, there's one thing that I'm actually kind of curious about. It's like I know they said they had campaigns and stuff, but do you think the campaigns are going to be story driven, or do you think it's going to be like Dark Crusade, Soulstorm style conquest driven?
That's actually interesting. Okay, okay. On one hand, I would like to have like more of a cinematic campaign, but
Me too.
like the Winter Assault type stuff where you move from one mission to another. But I do like the map conquest in, because I don't know, it's just like my brain goes, I need to color the entire map my color. So
Yeah.
if it's former, though they said there's gonna be 60 missions, so it does like 15 missions per faction. That just doesn't feel like right for some reason, because it's not that much realistically. Like,
Prosto z fabryki.
I think 15 missions, it's like Dune 2000 or something, or like first Red Alert or second Red Alert. It's not that much. Strategy started getting way more missions since then. Even like the Tiberium Sun and Red Alert 3, it has way more than 15 missions from what I remember. And
Naprawy ukończone.
there is a chance, there is maybe a chance, again, chance that it's gonna be basically upgrade of the Kronus, where we are getting the 60 missions, means, hey, here's 60 maps that are doing things with like on the same planet, and if they're doing it more like Dark Crusade stuff, in which case it's it is gonna be a big campaign to conquer everything, and they still might be able to like get a very cinematic feel out of it by just making certain missions like less skirmish like and more narrative.
Yeah. Or like sometimes maybe even like expand the skirmish into like, hey, here's a big fuck off battle.
Yeah.
That's actually something now that I'm actually really kind of like looking into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, even coming back to the Tiberium Wars, some missions were like, hey, here's a straight up skirmish, but some were actually more of like narrative based, where you were actually like, hey, here's a mission with specific circumstances where you have a limited number of units, or the things you cannot build anything, you can only conquer, or you need to like do the entire thing with just a stealth hero. Maybe we can do that, expand on that side of it.
Inaczej się nie da.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can be interesting. Because I always remember like one of the most irritating missions I've ever played in Real Art 3 was Allied mission in the Allied mission Nevada, where initially it's a small spy force kind of keying in, but then it kind of becomes to, oh, then you get base build, but you have a task of you have to down all the airships before they leave them. So like, I am kind of down with like narrative kind of escalation type missions like that, because that's what I kind of like.
Yeah, that could be fun, where, hey, here's like some mission skirmish, here's some mission that are a little bit more narrative where we put you into specific circumstances to like, you know,
Maybe
test.
give us like a named character or two or something and just have us like do
mean-
a thing.
We kind of have Cyrus in the trailer, unless that literally kickstarts the entire thing, but we maybe
That would be a big shame for Steve Bloom fans.
yeah, maybe we could be like, hey, he's just going on a solo mission, and it's literally just like taking out the orc war bosses from like 5 kilometers away with a sniper rifle, and then the next,
Just like 10 years ago.
yeah, or the next mission, and the next mission after that is the now full-scale assault where we need to conquer the territory with the said, where we kill the said war boss while the orcs are fighting amongst themselves. And there's a lot of things that could be done. And
Gotowi. Zbudujemy co nakażą.
Yeah, I do that.
I'm not sure what. I'm not sure what could be done.
Tu tego.
Zauważono wiele jednostek wroga.
I want them to be like somewhat balanced between the have a balance between what the Dawn of War, Dark Crusade, and Winter Assault did. I think that would be the most fun. But if it's strictly skirmish, you know, the first time they're doing it, I'm kind of okay with that. But if they Dawn of War 4, I guess they're gonna do soft restart now in the Primaris era.
Yeah. Because that is kind of a thing now of like with the exception of like the orcs and potentially the Necrons, like I'm gonna be honest, the Necrons have changed quite a lot from Dark Crusade to like the modern era. Like for one, pariahs are no longer a thing.
Yeah, but pariahs were.
And well, it's also like now it's also like the lore change because Dawn of War was like one of the last periods before the new Necron lore came in. So like by Dawn of War, they were still the mindless slaves to the Catan kind of deal.
Yeah, and then we got the. And then we got the fun. Then we
The
got
orcs.
The orcs. Sorry, I'm also playing. It's hard to talk in.
We're already potentially seeing a pretty good start because they confirmed Gorguts is gonna be in the game, and
Yeah.
he was quite funny.
Yeah, Gorguts was.
Although I do
always-
love that they've kind of done something funny with this design of like they spliced his Dawn of War 3 look with the Artel W model, and also gave him the little dot on his back like the tabletop mega armored boss model.
Yeah, so Gorguts was always like the fun guy. He was one of the more entertaining people. And orcs,
Yeah.
I don't think they changed much in terms of like the way
Not
they
compared
are.
to Atmec or Necrons.
Yeah, I think they were like out of them all, I think they had the least replacements and they had the most additions.
Oh yeah, because we've seen as well. They're also gonna feature the Beast Tiger units, which you know didn't exist when Dawn of War 3 was out. So like yeah, like orcs had the most to gain compared to like you know everything else. Space Marines will feel different because again it's the whole Firstborn to Primaris change. But like you know, as a Marine player, I'll admit, like, quite often it's quite easy to tell, like, okay, this is meant to be my Devastator, this is meant to be my Assault Marine, this is meant to be my Tactical Marine. My Dreadnought is now a lot bigger.
Zajrzę, co tam jest.
Yeah, and the... And that mech they're gonna be a fresh faction, but I was saying, yeah. If Dawn of War 4, it's gonna be a soft reboot within the realms of the False Primaris range, I may be able to excuse them a couple of things, you know? Like, I'm willing to forgive them if it's gonna be like just 60 skirmish mission and like one of them has like an actual narrative and only 1 in 10 has an actual narrative, like in the Dark Crusade or Soulstorm. But I'm willing to forgive them that time because they're still trying something new within the... They're trying something new with the entire thing. But if they, for example, if it's gonna be successful, which I hope it is, I do hope it is successful. But if it turns out to be very successful and they're gonna do the exact same thing for Dawn of War 5, then I'm gonna be way more harsh. Like, okay, I've given you one game to prove that you can do something new with it.
Prove that you're not Dawn of War 3.
Yeah. But after that, I'm gonna be way more strict.
Yeah. There is one question that I just got DM'd by someone.
Yeah.
For Chaos, for like Chaos factions in general, do you think if Chaos is added to a game, it'll be kind of similar to what it was in 2 and 1, where it's Marines with like demons? Or do you think it's just gonna be pure 100% Marines this time?
Good question, good question. I assume they're gonna take
Because again, we're kind of thinking now just like on like a faction that might not even come. But like, again, just a faction that I kind of want, and I bet you probably want too.
Okay, I want Chaos, but I don't know if it will be there. I am... I do hope we get Chaos, but if we assume that the game takes the 10th edition as the baseline for a lot of stuff, we might see strictly Marines, like the way they are. So, but like the way we are currently seeing them in the Codex, and maybe, I mean, technically they can get, and we might have like, hey, here's like 1 unit of Berserkers, 1 unit of Plague Marines, 1 unit of Thousand Suns, you know, basically allied rules, where we might get like demon or 2. But it's literally just like 1 or 2 demons per army, so to say. 2 units out of 20. We might...
Because when you look at the roster of Dawn of War 1, and in Dawn of War 1, Pink Horse were a unit.
Yeah.
And and then Dawn of War 2, which was the one that had the most in it, Bloodletters were a unit, Blood Crushers were a unit, and your super heavy was a Great Unclean one.
Yeah. So we might see them, but I don't know. But I don't honestly know how. Depends of how much they're taking of like straight up 10th editions, how much they're taking of the straight up 10th edition.
Because part of the reason why I'm mostly kind of curious about this is because do you remember back when I thought a certain VTuber wanted to learn tabletop Warhammer from me?
Yeah.
And I was kind of struggling, like, okay, how the fuck do I teach her? So I ran through Living Havoc, like one of the people we know in the server. I ran through Living Havoc, like, okay, hey, I'm trying to make a short 500-point list just to teach this person how do you play like tabletop. I wanted to do my Black Legion versus my Imperial Fist, just to keep it like simple. And my initial plan was kind of just like literally making a mirrorless, like Chaos Terminators versus Loyalist Terminators, Terminator Lord versus like Terminator Captain, a Venerable Dreadnought versus a Hellbrute kind of thing. But he suggested that I actually kind of change up Chaos's units, just to help like show off the variety.
KM-iści gotowi do walki. Kanonierzy
So that's actually one question I kind of want to hear as well. If they add Chaos Marines, do you want them to have more of their way out of their units, or do you want it to play kind of similarly to like Loyalist Marines, both like slightly different stats?
zajmujemy
Honestly, I think, again, because I'm gonna treat it as a soft reboot, I think they should go easy
Mhm.
for now, but just introduce a little bit of, spice in there. Give a taste that there is weirder stuff that can be done, Again, be it in the form of like,
Because
hey,
like one thing that Loathing Havoc suggested is he wanted me to show my possessed Marines for Chaos to kind of show like, oh hey, this is kind of like what they're about, the fusion of demon and man kind of deal.
yeah, yeah.
But then it's also like I don't want to be too crazy because then it's like, then I have to explain like, oh, this unit is completely different than this unit because X, Y, Z. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Potrzeba czegoś?
Straciliśmy oddział.
Because the fact that Chaos Marines have cultists, whereas Loyalist Marines outside of allies don't really have an equivalent to them, like that's one of the big jarrings as well.
Będą kłopoty. Potrzeba więcej miejsca do budowy.
Wróg atakuje nasze umocnienia.
Konstrukcja ma być mocna jak sama Polania.
Działa gotowe. Tak? Przyda się. Dobrze. Przeciwpancerni w gotowości. W porządku, idziemy.
I just.
Nie ma sensu tu zostawać. Nowe umocnienia
What.
gotowe. Straciliśmy
There is like a possibility of like them just making them getting like one of those weirder units as in like proof of like, hey, we can have weird shit in our game, but still it's gonna be mainly Space Marine equivalent, because let's be honest, a lot of current chaos is still a Space Marine equivalent.
Skąd wiedzieliście o tym pociągu?
Rząd polański współpracuje z
The current like
Mhm.
Raptors are still like Assault Squad with different stats, but
It's
the
Assault Marines and Vanguards in a way, even
Yeah.
though Loyalist and Vanguards are underarmed.
yeah,
Zauważono jednostkę wroga.
and but I would like to have like one of the weirder units,
Zauważono jednostkę wroga. Zmiana pozycji.
one of the weirder units, just to kind of like show the spicy part of. There is also like a certain bias of me. Hey, can we just have the? Can we actually just have like 1,000 Suns Rubric Marines as the? As kind of like an elite option kind of deal, where they are one-off
Well,
unit.
guys, that's one thing I was kind of thinking, like, when I was, like, thinking initially with what I want Chaos to look like. Because, here's the thing, like, Dawn of War 1 did have the Corn Berserkers, like, as, like, a unit. And Dawn of War 2, memetically had the Noise Marines as a unit. But, like, those were kind of, like, treated as elites. Because, like, right now in the Chaos Codex, like, you can take the cult troops, like, kind of, like, as allies. So like it does feel like it could fit, but honestly, like one thing I'm kind of curious about is, and like it's very a hinge ready, and it could go very bad, very wrong. I do want to see if they could do sub factions, kind of like you know how in Total War, when you play the Empire, you don't just play the entire Empire. You play like the Emperor's Empire, the Golden Order Empire. You know, kind of like something like that.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if they could do like little sub factions like, hey, Emperor's Children. It's like, it's these parts of Chaos Marines, but you're restricted to like Marcus Slanesh stuff, but you get like unique units and whatever.
yeah, that could work. That could be fun to have. again, just kind of like show that you can have weird stuff,
Budujemy, co nam każą.
and then once
Because one thing I feel like, that Living Havoc did have a point was try to make it so that way like different factions aren't just like recolors or like reskins.
yeah, the problem gonna be if the yeah, it's gonna be a very big issue if we end up with like 5 factions that are like all the same in terms of how they work.
Mhm.
And even if you make in like the faction Chaos and Space Marines, and they're like, hey, we're just like, hey, those guys, they still the same. Those are just the Space Marines, but edgier with a little bit of spice. We still need to have like a somewhat unique style to them and the gameplay style.
I zachowajcie czujność.
Otherwise,
Na początek.
it just takes away all the variety.
Yeah.
Ile jeszcze do przygotowania pociągu?
Jeszcze parę minut, proszę pani.
Wróg atakuje nasz warsztat.
Maybe they could make Chaos Space Marines a little bit more, even like in the Dawn of War original, like the equivalent of Chaos Space Marines and the normal Marines. There was still like you saw that they fulfilled the same role, but they did have unique.
Czekamy na rozkazy.
But they did have unique perks that make them feel that little bit different. I expect something like that. Again, I am easier on them this time,
Wiele jednostek wroga. Nasz warsztat
but it will not be forever. Like, the moment they start making like something, the moment they start making like new stuff, I'm gonna be way more harsh on them.
się naprawi.
Like the moment the DLC drops, I'm
That's
gonna
like at this point we're in pitying, but once they show that they're capable, we're gonna have much higher standards.
And again, I don't expect it to be like absolute banger. I don't expect it to be, oh yeah, it is absolute banger of the game, 100%. Nothing, the best since the first one. No, I expect to be
The best since Portal 1.
yeah, I expect it to be a solid game. As so long as it's a solid game, overall, I am cool.
Yeah.
Jedna z naszych jednostek osiągnęła status elitarny. Zauważono jednostkę wroga. Zauważono wiele jednostek wroga. Atakują nasz sztab. Bohater zdobył nową rangę.
Yeah, but I think this is. I think this is it when it comes to my expectation. I don't have much else
Me too.
to say.
Like at this point, we're now like, especially now with our Chaos Marine discussion, we're now just kind of going into conjecture. Because again, all that discussion might be useless because Chaos Space Marines might not be an entire faction for the entire game.
Yeah, hell, though I will say, the game will absolutely sell me, sold to me if it turns out, even through leaks, that Thousand Suns are the faction, because I feel like it's safe to say that we are currently in the Zinch era of Warhammer games, where
To mi się przyda.
the Zinch
Especially because like the Dawn War era was, popularized by Khorne to the point where it became very stupid because like, oh hey, why does Khorne now have sorcerers? Oh, because Relic thought Khorne was the only Chaos God, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Jaki mamy plan? Będzie jak
And Nurgle, like Nurgle dominated Dark and Vermintide, to the point where it's like, again, like Neri was the god most up in front.
Zbudujemy, co nam każą.
Yeah, so maybe we're in the Zinch era, so maybe.
Yeah.
Or they gonna, because so far we only had like one game where the Zinch was the big bad. I do not count Bolt Gun because it has all the demons except for Slanesh.
It's undivided.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Vulcan's undivided, especially because again, the up 4 is Black Legion, which is the most undivided you can get.
Yeah. So they are kind of like sure, but maybe like that way the next one is gonna be Slanesh, you know.
Hmm?
Who knows?
Especially because as much as I hate it, but as much as of course it does make sense, like as much as like Slanesh kind of loses the sex, drugs, and rock and roll kind of vibe, then it's more and more likely.
Yeah. I mean, like even then, they just went less sex and more drugs and rock and roll, I'd say.
Yeah.
At least on drugs. I mean, their codex is all about the Crusade rule in tabletop
Oh yeah.
currently.
Their Crusade rules are all about make the most, make crack. You gotta make super crack.
Yeah, we need to make crack to make the Motley Crew proud, but yeah. And
He's the one they call Dr. Phil.
yeah, but I hope if we are as far as chaos, I would be happy for the Undivided and Zinch. Others I'm gonna be like okay, but it's just because like those are the two that I'm absolutely
Yeah,
like.
probably gonna add Corn Berserkers, maybe, kind of like as a a nod because Dawn of War 1 had the Corn Berserkers.
Chciałabyś dołączyć? Paweł zamierza grać na gitarze i
Yeah.
musimy go
Or
powstrzymać.
again, the likely that even something that the original Apocalypse mod did is that hey, here's like one unit of like Thousand Suns, one unit of like Plague Marines, and one Noise Marines.
Noise Marines 1, Plague Marines. Yeah.
Yeah, where they basically, because original had the Berserkers, but then they just added 3 more, so maybe even have like, hey, here's like 4 unique units that are like, maybe in the 5th game we're gonna be expanding on it.
Although, I will admit, like, part of my reason why I think they probably won't do them at all is, consider this. It's the same reason why you never see Cult Marines being used in a lot of Chaos Space Marine lists. It's like, what do they do that regular Undivided can't do?
To zmęczenie wojną. Było
Eh.
dużo ofiar. Każdy stracił
Tabletop wise, a lot, but
Because like Corn Berserkers, unfortunately right now due to like, things you won't get into, they're worse melee than your basic legionnaires. Ribbit Marines, like, okay, the flamers are a different niche because hey, it's giving you a flamer squad. But like if you take in bolters, it's like you're slightly, you're slightly better bolters in exchange for losing most of your rules. And Noise Marines, it's like, okay, Noise Marines are the most different because their gun isn't on anything else, so to say.
yeah.
But Plague Marines kind of feel like you're stepping on the feet of Chosen, of the hey, take a unit armament with a bunch of weird shit.
Yeah. Do I think it's gonna happen? No. Do I want it? Yeah. But it also creates.
Yeah, me too.
It also creates another kind of question that maybe we can discuss maybe later, next time. What of Total War 40k?
Yeah, maybe once we actually get more stuff and we stop just guessing into the wind.
Yeah, but What does it say about total
I'm
of
guessing Brock
40k?
Lesnar is gonna cameo as Captain Santos.
Co robimy?
Najkrótszą drogą nie przejdziemy, więc trzeba
Mhm.
znaleźć drogę przez góry.
But yeah,
Musimy się dostać do tego tunelu.
We also got
Pociąg.
40k total war to consider, because that was something.
that I don't think. And okay, like I'm gonna be hypocritically cynical. I don't think it'll work
Wycofaj ten pociąg!
because here's the thing. Fundamentally, like even though it's now in a fantasy universe, Total War fantasy worked because you're still a solid planet. You're still a solid like landmass. 40k, if you make it a Total War, it's like that's gonna expand into fucking space, and that's just a lot of you know, space geography and trigonometry you need to work with now.
Przedstaw ją!
A
I mean,
zrobi się.
there is possibility of what could be done, but I think that's gonna be its own discussion. Honestly, I think
Yeah.
we already talked a lot for like 2.5 hours, which is like I'd say it was pretty
I love
solid.
how we initially promised we're gonna take like 1 hour, proceed to do 2.5.
I mean, that's how rambling of the madman goes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say we can
We
finish.
got a mad dude, we got a mad lady here. We got mad people.
Yeah, so I think we can finish here. Honestly, cause yeah, that was very
I
impromptu.
do have a raid target for you.
Sure.
Here, let me type her name. Actually, it's, ooh, yeah, like because they're currently playing Dark Side, so kind of keeping with the Warhammer theme.
Yep. Sounds good
Let's
to
see
me.
if I can actually spell her fucking name. ATRIA.
Check. Just send
There
me
we go.
direct. Send me a direct message.
No, I'm sending it via chat.
Oh shit. Oh gosh. I hope it actually.
I don't see a raid in progress right now, if that's what you're thinking.
Invalid username.
Okay, I probably misspelled it. Give me a minute. I'm just gonna copy and paste it.
Yeah, just copy and paste it, mate. That's sister. Just copy and paste those things.
My dumb ass can't spell.
That's a first language. Okay, I think maybe
You can't be
case.
mad. I'm pretty. You can't. Okay, I've forgotten A. That's the big problem.
And I'm not sure if it's case sensitive though. That's also could
I
be it.
don't think it is.
Let's not.
But like, if you just copy it into like the raid target prompt, then it should be fine.
Oh yeah, it goes there.
Yeah, well, thanks for chatting with me. I'm probably gonna have some dinner and then I'm gonna do something. Still not sure what.
Yeah. Well, and this is the end of our stream.